Hi everyone, welcome back to the Harbinger China VC podcast. Today we have joining us Harry Wang, who is the founding partner of Linear Venture, a $100 million VC fund that specializes in early-stage technology investments related to China and the Greater Asia area. Harry has led investments into more than 40 technology companies, mainly in data and AI-related topics. He also served as a CEO advisor to Baixing Wang, Dianping, and CSDN. Prior to founding Linear Venture, Harry was head of Facebook's risk engineering team and led efforts on payments fraud control and was one of the first engineers working on social ads and newsfeed. He got his MSc from Stanford and has a CS degree from Zhejiang University. With Harry, we'll first hear more about his story from China to the US and working at Facebook during his early years, to why he came back to China as an investor. We learn more about Linear Venture's core investment areas, sourcing and deal strategy, his views on China versus US tech leadership and strengths, and of course, if and how might Facebook ever enter the China market. Harry, thanks so much for joining us today. So for today's conversation, we cover a number of different areas, but let's start with your story. From China to the US to Facebook and back. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you've done to date?
Okay, cool. So after finishing my college at Zhejiang University, I went to Ohio State first for my PhD in computer science at Ohio State. I first was working in the area of data mining. More precisely, it's related to data sampling related stuff. But after, I think, 1.5 years, there was a chance I spent a day at a Chicago Board of Trade. That sort of opened my eyes to something different rather than just computer science. And it's more about the real world, the applications. So after the opening of the eyes of that experience, I decided to quit my PhD. So I quitted my PhD after having 3 months of struggling with my advisor, but he's a really good person. Also helped me do my job finding. He actually referred a job to me in the East Coast, but I rejected since I wasn't really interested in going to East Coast. So I was trying to find a job. After, I think, almost half a year trying to find a job. It's second half of 2005. It was not easy to get a job. So at the same time, I applied to Stanford as a backup option. I think around September, October, or something like that, the economy had a turn. So it became much easier to get a job offer. I got job offer from Yahoo and Oracle, and also Stanford as well. So I went to Yahoo at the same time, studying management science and engineering, MSE, at Stanford. So I was a software, more a data engineer at Yahoo in this department called Strategical Data Solution, SDS. That's the major data department at Yahoo with about 400 people at that time. Spending about a year, a little bit more than a year there. And then I went to Facebook as one of the earliest Chinese engineers. There were about 100 people at that time, early 2007. I joined the ads backend team. I was part of the group that built the first version of social ads. I think there were about 3-4 backend engineers at that time. And I also later moved to the newsfeed team, helped build the first version of a newsfeed backend. There was backend before, but it's like really hacked one. It's not really like a carefully designed backend. I was one of the first few people who helped build the backend of social feed, newsfeed. And I actually went through different products, including Facebook virtual currency product, credits, payments products, and a bunch of newsfeed related products as well, front end, back end. It's more like it's not really a full stack. It's like any stack. Whenever you are needed, you have to go there. That's a typical way of startup engineers. So after about 2.5 years, I started to concentrate on things related to payments. So in my last 2 years of at Facebook, I was in charge, managing the team, in charge of payment security and half of the payment backend team. So my team was counting every cent Facebook received from payments, and checking every transaction to make sure, like, what's the probability this transaction being a fraud? What we can do with it? If it's like high probability, okay, maybe we should reject. If it's low, we should just let it pass. What is tricky is what's in between. What should you do with those controversial transactions? That's where the technology can be most used to leverage, to have the trade-off between the user experience and the chargeback rate. Eventually it will become chargeback if it is a fraud. So after 4.5 years at Facebook, I decided to leave the company, and the reason is quite simple. It's like, I think the fun time is over, but it's wrong. Actually, I think Facebook become a king of the social network on the web, but that's not yet the time of mobile. Mobile, I think it took. I left end of 2011. I think it's starting 2012, middle 2012. Zach was really keen on changing Facebook from a web-only company or web-first company to a mobile-first company. It took Facebook an entire year to do that conversion. So it's like by May 2013 or end of 2013, Facebook was clearly a mobile-focused company. But if I ever stayed, I think it will look like this. This like the peak of fun, peak of challenge,
yeah.
And then it's like goes to the plateau. And then like 2 years, if you can be satisfied with the plateau, with the repeating everyday life,
yeah.
Then 2 years later, you can get another set of fun.
Yeah.
But I wasn't like really patient
Yeah.
at that time, decided to quit and do something on my own. And Facebook sort of really rewarded their early employees really well. Basically, we didn't really have to work. So I quitted trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And for a reason, I came back to China first, and I always wanted to come back, but if not for that triggering event, I wouldn't have really bought a ticket and came back. So I came back and talked to a bunch of internet, those active players, like a founder of Qihoo 360, founder of Alibaba, founder of NetEase, a bunch of those people, founder of Dianping. I had become Dianping's CEO advisor for about 1.5 years, advisor to Baixing, like Craigslist in the US for about 1.5 years. Those experiences started only if you decided to come back to China. So since I set my foot on the ground, I had met those people during, I think, 2012. Gradually decided, okay, maybe I should just do something in China. So 2012, I was like going back and forth, like doing advisor work and doing some random angel investment, but I wasn't really sure investment was the right thing for me since I was an engineer, a very good engineer, but doesn't mean I will become a good investor, right? That's totally different careers as far I can tell now from my experience in the last 5 years. So after doing all that, I met my partner that time, Michael Zhang, who just quitted his job as a VP in JD.com, Jingdong. So we teamed up, and also another celebrity investor called Charles Xue. So we three teamed up to build an investment firm just using our own money called Zijing Capital. We invested about 8 companies using that SPV. The most successful and famous one is Dianrong lending, Sino lending, dianrong.com. So that's how we gradually got into this investment career, and eventually, September 2014, we decided to raise a professionally managed fund. That's how Linear was created. Hill House was our anchor investor, so we started from there, and we did all kinds of early, I think, angel round and some pre-rounds investment. About, I think, 60 to 70 of those investments from Fund 1 were on this topic we called data intelligence, basically the application of big data technology and AI technologies. So yeah, Fund 2 is only focused on one thing, that thing we did the best in Fund 1. So we said, why not just focus on one thing, the thing that we can do much better than all our potential competitors. So that's why Fund 2 is only focused doing data intelligence related investments. Yeah, that's basically our focus, the strategy. The typical investment that we have done are companies like Horizon Robotics, 地平线机器人. We were their very first investor. Like Rocket is like Amazon Echo. We were one of the first 4 angel investors. Like Census Data, 神策. That company, I'm sure, will become $1 billion company. We were their very first angel investor. We have Fraud Metrics, 同盾. We were their Angel Plus. It was like sort of second round.
Right.
2 months later, then their angel round.
Okay.
The investor.
Yeah.
Sort of Dianzhong, we were their Angel Plus round investor as well.
Yeah.
So by doing the analysis on the commonalities of those successful investments, we decided, okay, the commonality is on application of data and AI, so let's just do that.
Got it. So it seems that Linear Ventures, your focus areas are data intelligence and AI and frontier technology broadly. I know you also invested in a couple of VR company. One is VR.
That's future. We call it AI-enabled futuristic technology companies. In VR, there's actually a lot of data. In general, like a technology that can be applied to make it the VR creation as well as the consumption much better than without the technologies.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
The team is very technical.
Yeah, fair. And even before getting to some of these specific examples, I mean, in terms of from where you sit as an angel investor, like what is your approach to even finding these talents? Like, how do you source deals? What are some of the key criteria? So beyond the fact that this is data intelligence and AI, what are some of the other key criteria that you guys keep in mind?
Yeah. To be honest, I think the best people here, you can utilize some the strategies, but the way we did was, I did a lot of free training for BATs, Baidu, Alibaba, Tencent. Since we only care about sort of senior dirty hands folks who have done things great, but maybe great at Baidu, at Tencent, at Facebook, at Google. We have invested in people from those places. In order to reach those people, first it's not easy, and keep that conversation hot is also not easy. So the way we date, it's actually not really planned ahead of time. It's like by analyzing how we did those investments from hindsight. I did training. I wrote a lot of blog articles. I wrote a book.
Yeah.
Actually,
right.
that
Very
helped a
popular
lot.
One,
yeah, that helped a lot.
Yeah.
Like a lot of readers. It sold about like 60 to 70 copies, like the number I got about a year ago, mostly I think were bought by engineers or PMs. Those are our direct, audience. We want to invest the best people from those categories. Those is like how we first have the impression on the market. So when it's the time they really wanted to get out to do fundraising, they have heard of us, they want to reach out, or like from referral, the mutual friends referred them to us or referred us to them. It's not like somebody so foreign to them, like they have to learn the investors from scratch. It's like somebody they have known somehow already. They know like how our thinking is. It's like deeply coined in the books. So that kind of helped a lot. I participated on quite a few events, very selected as well. Usually those events are packed with technologists or product managers, those what we call as like doers with dirty hands. I'm really interested in participating in those events as well as sponsoring those events. This is how we try to, maintain our focus, maintain our impact within certain types of groups. Definitely referral is really important. Referral from people we know, people we respect, and the people we have already invested.
Right. So it sounds like you guys are off to a great start. I mean, you've had a really successful career yourself, well known, the books and content that you write. You invest in a few good deals because of the great people, have a few successes, and kind of builds your profile further. So I get the sourcing side. So that's working pretty well. In terms of, so let's say you start talking to someone, you mentioned keeping that person hot. So how do you close that deal?
That's a very good point. Very good question. It's not easy. We typically find us being competitive on two things. One is we usually have better understanding of the problem than our competitors given our background. We try to emphasize on that. We talk a lot about the details in the problems they are trying to solve. We try to give our perspectives. Of course, it had to be supported by reasoning, supported by experience, supported by data. But to be honest, in most cases, the code we have written before, the amount of code, the scale of code we have written before is more than most of the companies we have invested. So from that beginning point, I'm not saying moving forward it's like that, but from that moment, it builds a foundation for us try to best understand each other. We usually get to a very deep state, which we truly understand what problems you guys are trying to solve, how you are going to solve it, and how we can help you guys on solving that problem. Either from, we usually don't participate in the real solution, but we help on, since I understand your problem, I understand the solution, how can I help you on recruiting? How can I help you on finding the right clients? We're investing a lot of 2B businesses, startups. So finding the business clients really important. How we can help you find your next round of financing? Since having Linear being your cornerstone of first round investor helps you build a really good foundation for future rounds of financing. We have a reputation on the market. Every company Linear supports must be good on technology. It's not saying they are good on business model. That's our downside. We actually spend very limited time on discussing business problem, the business issues, business model, how to make money. That's not really our focus, not our strengths. We try to focus on our strengths. So companies we backed sort of gained that label for sure. Well, the second thing is, since we were engineers and we typically invest on technology funders or product funders, we have this natural bond. We come from the same place. Now we are on the both sides of the coin, but eventually we were same set of people. So having that emotional bond is something we're trying to emphasize as well.
Right. Yeah, for sure. And from the entrepreneur side, it's got to be someone you respect, can create value, but you also trust.
Yep.
And having that connection helps a lot.
Yep.
And also, when you review China over the past, 5-10 years, a lot of stuff going on. I think for a while there were a lot of great 项目, a lot of good opportunities, because with mobile, as you mentioned, 2012, a lot of new things could be built on mobile, and China was able to emulate the West. There's a lot of things that already existed in the US, and a lot of capital in China. You put into all these different projects, you at least have a sense of where things will go. But these days, a lot more focused on AI, artificial intelligence, frontier technology. AR, VR is also another area that you mentioned. And it seems that now China and US are a little bit closer. We're not exactly sure what the business models look like, what the great successes look like for any of these areas. So, I've heard that, it's increasingly harder to find the really good opportunities. So being a frontier technology investor, what are you looking at? What are some of the key trends that you see?
The key trends in terms of the technology innovations or the application innovations is very different. Like from our point of view, we spend 70% of our time and energy on what we call as AI plus applications, where the technology is more established, but the application is sort of new, trying to integrate these regression models to fintech problems. How can I separate the bad customers from the good ones? For good ones, I'm willing to give them loans at lower rate and much faster speed, which is totally economically efficient, right? But you have to separate. How can I apply the mature, relatively speaking, more mature technology to such a existing problem? This is what we call as AI plus applications. It could be in fintech, could be what we call as SaaS 2.0 or DaaS. SaaS typically means it's more a digitization or getting the existing business processes online, maybe on the in the cloud way, or could be private deployment, but with cloud infrastructure. But DaaS is more focused on
what does that stand for?
Data as service.
Data service. Okay.
Data as service or decision as service. Our point is, the way you build the software is more around the decision, more around what kind of data should be put together at the right moment to help you make better decisions or faster decisions. The entire mindset is built on decisions. So this is like what we call as SaaS 2.0. It could be AI for medical applications. The CV technology to read the images better, faster than human doctors. Those kind of things.
Right.
And we have like 15% on infrastructures. I think infrastructure innovations right now, I think largely underestimated and underinvested in China and in the US. Maybe in the US you could see like big companies strongly investing in those areas, including NVIDIA for sure, Google, Intel, all those big guys. But in China, those big guys are not really strongly invested there. It's more the startups picking those kind of trends. Horizon Robotics. It's like AI-enabled chips. 航武纪, it's a 中科院 related startups doing AI chips. They just supplied the AI chips to Huawei.
Oh, really?
Huawei will definitely do their own thing as well. 海之芯片, they will do their own thing as well. So, but it's more those not internet giants doing such things. So we think in China, there's a lot of opportunities we can pick up there as well. And third thing is what we call as AI-enabled futuristic, such as VIA, such as we investment company called Guanli, which is I think it's more realistic magic leap.
Right.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. So we'll see how those things move forward. But those are the trends we are seeing in China, and they are not a lot that can be copied from the US. I'm pretty sure about that. But that actually gives the opportunities, leverages to investors and funders who are willing to do a lot of deep independent thinking.
Yeah.
Because like copying from US,
Yeah.
it's a lazy work, right?
Yeah.
You have a mind model, you can copy.
Yeah. It's all about execution in that case, right?
Yeah,
You
it's
know, like
execution.
hundreds of companies trying to do the same thing.
Yeah. It's like reasoning by referencing.
Yeah.
Well, that's an easy way to do the reasoning.
Right.
Like reasoning by the logic or understanding of the problem.
Right.
That's a lot of hard work and a lot of risk.
Right. Well, also another thing that could happen is that if you have more of these cross-border firms that might want to invest in more in these Chinese companies because in terms of technology where they're at, it might be more comparable these days,
Right.
and perhaps the speed in China in some cases can be a lot faster, and I guess the salaries are a little bit lower. So maybe the return on
little
your
bit.
money.
I can only say a little bit.
Okay, it's kind of catching up these days.
Yeah, catching up is so fast.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Like if you hire somebody from US back to China,
Yeah.
I think the salary range is between, let's say, 70% to 150%,
Okay.
which means could be a
Oh, it
increase.
could be higher, yeah. Wow. Interesting. Yeah, because
Yeah.
there's a greater demand here.
Yeah,
especially when it
greater
comes to-
demand
Greater demand.
and a greater potential market upside.
Right. Wow. Okay, that makes sense. Actually, I want to talk a little bit more about that trend later on because I'm curious about the cross-border piece. But before getting just to close out this topic around artificial intelligence, you mentioned the chips, a lot of the infrastructural components. So we hear a lot about how Chinese AI is getting better and better. It's going to overtake the West. I mean, I think they're doing a lot of great things here. But in terms of some areas like chips, for example, semiconductors and GPUs and I don't know, like quantum computing of areas I don't really know myself, I've heard that it's really hard for the Chinese to catch up.
Right.
Because for NVIDIA,
It is hard.
Yeah, because it takes years and years of investment and development.
Right.
If you get the process wrong, then it takes time to redo it. So can you talk a little bit more about what are areas where the China is lagging a little bit and needs to develop further?
Yeah. Chips is definitely one.
That's one, yeah.
Yeah. But the interesting thing is, China can hopefully have some shortcut. The talents are there, but the talents who's experienced, the talents in deep learning, in software is there definitely. I don't think China is lacked in that area at all.
Yeah.
But in like hardware design, hardware making process, have like made enough expensive mistakes. Those people are so limited and mostly concentrated in the US.
Mm-hmm.
So whether you can hire those people over to China,
Yeah.
whether you can buy certain smaller companies with experience there. China has capital advantage.
Yeah.
The capital is such a plus, a surplus on the market. Well, maybe hopefully we can combine those upside to try to create a shortcut on that
Right.
area.
Right.
Yeah, and the B2B areas, at least in the market side, it's picking up. I think it's still behind US at several aspects. One is the willingness, the habits to pay.
Yeah. Yep.
Pay for business software, business services.
Mm-hmm.
The second is, the accumulation of the understanding of key features. We always complain how hard the Oracle software or People software, how hard their user experience is, but they have like hundreds of modules, features that you can pick and assemble to get what you want. Mm-hmm. Although it's really hard to use, but it's there. China, I think a lot of Chinese software made it easier to use, but if you look at the feature set, it's so limited, so they can only focus on one thing to start with. It's not saying they will not like pass in the long run, but now is what it is. Now it's like only here. It takes years to have those experiences. Those experiences may not be easily copied from US, since the way we deal with business problems, we deal with corporate problems, we deal with governments could be very different.
Right.
Tax related, HR benefits. Look at like US Zenefits and a bunch of others, $1 billion companies. None in China, $1 billion. Yeah.
True.
Yeah. So that could be something we can catch up with.
Yeah.
But it has to be so localized, adapted to the local markets.
Right.
And the thing from the softer layer side, I think the way the engineers, the engineers with product sense and with business sense, I think it's less supplied in China rather than in the US, especially Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley try to, train engineers with ideas to save the world. Sort of that's typical Silicon Valley style, right?
Yeah.
China is more realistic, and in China, a lot of those entrepreneurs, at least it's a little bit different from the last 18 months, but before that it's more business trained folks who are leading the entrepreneur activity. But they have been sort of like shifted significantly to technologists leading the trend. So we hope to see more and more motivated, well-trained engineers, product managers try to take the heavy load, try to do some taking initiatives to do startups.
Right.
We're seeing that trend very quite obvious.
Okay, so and for those talents, are they people who are trained here in China and just you see the overall development here, or is it still people who go overseas to study and work there like you and come back?
I think both are increasing the supply. So first, from the absolute number, like China has such a big population. From the last about 10 years of very successful internet, booming the development, a lot of good engineers are trained domestically. And also, since the market is booming, you are seeing a lot of returnees, well trained in good schools in the US and good companies in the US. They are coming back as well.
Right.
So we are seeing the quality from the both categories are increasing, quality and quantity increasing. Like if you have to sort of make a claim, I would say the percentage of the local, the domestic one, relatively speaking, percentage is increasing.
Great.
Yeah,
Got
good
it.
ones.
Okay.
And if you look at 10 years ago, mostly were outside the chain. Those are like from the 人数, the number of people, I think much more trained internationally than came back and they do the work.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's good to hear that the domestic education and the talent here is increasing. That's a really good trend to see. Okay, we don't have too much more time, so I think one thing we like to, I had a burning desire to ask you earlier was around your experience with Facebook and their approach and interest in China. Obviously, we all know that Mark, he speaks a little bit Chinese. He's come to Beijing a couple of times, like running Tiananmen with a mask on, right? Or no mask.
No mask.
So when you were there and like based on your view now,
I wasn't there.
Okay.
Yeah, I left way before Zach did this Tiananmen show. Yeah. But Zach is a great person. Yeah, just like from my opinion on the likelihood of Facebook entering China, I'm really pessimistic.
Okay.
I don't think that's going to happen.
Okay.
Like so much downside, almost zero upside for Chinese government.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, I can't see any upside.
So they wouldn't come in as a social network, but what about some of the other services
That's
they might
possible.
offer? Okay.
That's definitely possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Chinese government is also very realistic, pragmatic.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, if you Zach is one of the top CEOs. I think he's the most friendly top CEOs to China, to Chinese government. Like,
doesn't matter.
Why? No, it matters.
Okay.
The Chinese government will return favor. But not on the such a sensitive topic.
Okay.
But I think Oculus possible. Instagram with filters with it's easier to filter there. It's not about like people connection, right? It's more about the photo sharing. It's easier to control the potential damage there. What else? WhatsApp. My opinion is after the conference, political conference, WhatsApp maybe reopened again. Very
really?
possible.
Oh, wow. Okay.
In my opinion,
Okay.
it's very possible. I think the Chinese government is like a very pragmatic. They are not. I think they don't have like evil intention. They just want to make things as stable as possible, which is nothing to blame. It's just sometimes the way to do that is quite brutal.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. I really like that point because sometimes forget that a lot of these large internet companies, their coverage is so broad now. They do so many things. Facebook started as a social network. That's its core business and its culture, but it's doing a lot of other things that potentially could enter the China market and could benefit from it too. Or maybe
Yeah,
even like,
definitely that's the way.
Yeah.
I don't think Facebook.com.
No.
Yeah, no way.
Right.
But could be some other related things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Cool. Sounds
But
good.
then that the point, what's the point of, Zucker's vision on connecting everybody on this planet all together?
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Well, maybe it'll take time. Who
And from the
knows?
market point of view, it's already too late.
Mm.
Yeah. Certain people will get onto Facebook to have this international connection, but mostly for, utility point of view, we already have WeChat.
Yeah. And actually, one more question based on that is WeChat's huge in China.
Right.
A lot of overseas Chinese use it too.
Right.
But China market is
Non-Chinese
huge.
don't use it.
Yeah. So the thing is, like, as they want to go abroad and do more stuff overseas,
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I don't think they will ever succeed on that as well.
Mm.
But for several reasons. The way they build the feature, the way they do the account protection, the account takeover, the account, the gating. It's the way they do it is so Chinese. So Chinese.
Right.
Like one of my friends, who's the co-founder of Tokopedia, I convinced him to reuse WeChat, and he tried spend 30 minutes try to get back his account, and he failed.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, he decided
Jesus.
eventually, in order to communicate with us, he decided to register for another new account. But it's like
so much effort,
yeah, this is like.
Yeah. Right.
Anyways, that's like on the feature side, and what WeChat at the beginning may have like too many features to just make it too complicated for a new foreigners to start using it.
Right.
Yeah, try to understand, the difference. If foreigners use it, they will definitely compare it to WhatsApp, compare it to Facebook Messenger, and a bunch of others. It has to be simple enough differentiation that makes them willing to try at least WeChat.
Yeah.
Without that, I don't think it's. And the third thing, the distrust on Chinese made product. That's there. I'm a Chinese. I don't want that to be there, but it's happening.
Yeah. Oh, in terms of quality, in terms of data being shared with the government.
More from the data.
Yeah. They're very public about that too. It's like all the data is being collected.
I think that's true.
Yeah, it is. It was like a publicly announced as well.
It's like a never admitted fact.
Yeah, for sure. Also, but eventually, a lot of these large Chinese companies, they're gonna want to enter other markets and do more stuff. It just like as this market gets saturated here, it's huge. They're gonna want to do more stuff there. So is their approach, for example, BAT companies acquire more companies overseas, create new products? How do you see that happening?
It's getting more and more. I think maybe in the next 10 years, the Chinese market going overseas will become a trend. But in my opinion, they should try to replicate the strategy reverse. But in a certain way, it's like a reversely copying the strategy taken by Vivo and Oppo. A lot of Chinese actually thought Vivo, Oppo are foreign brands.
Really?
But from like the level 3, level 4 cities, they always thought those are foreign brands. They are brands better than Apple, better than any domestic manufacturers.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's like the marketing they do, all the coolness they try to bring in.
Okay.
But for foreign for Chinese products going to the foreign market, is there a way to make them think this is like
they're not a Chinese product?
Yeah, they're not Chinese.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because Chinese can make good quality products.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So.
digital and the real physical goods. They can. We're capable, totally capable of doing that.
Yeah.
Probably like one of the best things. I think, in my opinion, the user experience of WeChat is much better than Facebook Messenger. And WhatsApp for sure. All those kind of things. But because I get used to it, I know like how they care about, the users, the Chinese users using that. But applying that carefulness, applying that, attentiveness to how foreign users, you trying to use your products and make the good ones that they're willing to. Chinese totally have that capability, but you have to first localize it, adapt it to the local needs. Second, the brands should look like local, or look like a lot of times outside of China look like American.
Right.
Yeah, that's reality.
Yeah, for sure. And I think there's increasingly more examples. We were talking with Qiming Venture Partners earlier this week, and they invested in a company called Musical.ly. Quite popular in the U.S.
I know the team really well. That's another team we missed their angel run.
Okay.
Ouyang.
Yeah.
Ouyang Louis.
Yeah. Cool. Okay.
Yep.
Well, Harry, thanks so much for your time.
Sure.
Very insightful.
Sure.
And hope to have you on again in the future.
Sure. Cool. Thank
Okay.
you.
Cheers.